You're listening
You're listening
to another episode
of the Fresh Takes
podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Fresh Takes podcast. I am here with my two favorite co-hosts, Pat and Tank. What is going on, boys?
I'm doing good. How y'all doing?
Oh, I am great. We are kicking off the second leg of our quarterback rankings. Can't believe we're halfway through. Our second leg.
I get
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Say,
I was gonna
second
say.
leg.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I was gonna say this isn't like the second episode. I was gonna say, do we need to put an application out for another co-host with
No,
us?
Pat just wants to tweak his second list.
I'm trying to get a least prepared award.
All right, well, we got
I wonder if
13
any of
through
us are going to be on
18.
the same page.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
13 through 18. I mean, we can just jump straight into it. Pat, you want to kick it off?
I will kick it off. And Tank, I'll apologize. The last segment ended on a bad note, I guess, a little sour.
I'm very sour.
I mean, this might be even more sour because you had this man atrociously low, and I have him ranked above Dak Prescott, and that's Andy Dalton.
Oh, good old Andy.
Good old Red Rocket. 6-8 as a starter there. 18 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 2-to-1 ratio. Solid. He's just a consummate pro. He can get to any system, it seems like, and win you games. They were in the playoff hunt because their division kind of sucked, but he still kind of kept that team around. Pretty good team. He really helped out, I think.
Yeah,
Panthers.
I really. Yeah, now
so
he's with the Panthers.
So I mean, he's with the same division.
Well, I mean, what is this his sixth team?
So Andy Dalton,
because he had the Bears, Bengals, Bears, Cowboys, and I guess Saints and Panthers. I thought he had one other one.
I mean, I can look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's only 5.
I say, I'm thinking 5. I thought it was 6.
Andy Dalton. He has been on. Let's go to good old Wikipedia. Wikipedia still has a picture of him in the Cowboys uniform. So yeah, it was Bengals, Cowboys, Bears, Saints, Panthers.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, other than the Bengals where he did very good, I guess Cowboys were the most promising season he had when Dak went down.
Yeah, I actually liked him in the Cowboys. I don't know if is he going to show it?
That's not picking
it's
it
not
up.
Glare. I don't know, but I was going to show you all. It still shows the Cowboys logo team, but it is what it is. I really wish we would have kept him.
Better than Dak.
Very better than Dak.
As clear as what Pat has said. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and say my number 18. So I guess you can say we're off to a good start. Because, Pat, my number 18 is Andy Dalton.
Guys, listen, if you two just want to have a podcast to yourselves and want a room by yourselves, let me know, and I'll book the hotel for you guys.
The old Tim Patrick show starting now.
Yeah,
I had everything that we were just saying about him. I think Andy Dalton in the right system can be a very good winner, and he has to have the right coaching. But I think with Frank Wright, he'll do very good. If he gets the start. I mean, you're drafting a quarterback first pick. Don't you think that they would start?
Yeah.
So I don't know if Dalton will get it or Stroud will get it because I think Stroud's going number 1.
Oh, yeah. I think number 1 is going to be C.J. Stroud.
All right, Tank, what you got for 18?
We'll get right into my 18 pick, and he was a 49ers now. Good old Raiders. The Jimmy G show. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and what puts him at 18 for you there, Tank?
Well, let's go ahead and get right into his stats. Let me get to my paper right here. It is. He was 207 for 308, 2,437 yards, 16 touchdowns with only a 4 interceptions and the QBR of 103 even. I just feel with him going down with an injury really screwed him out. And that's why I put him where he was because of the injury. If he didn't have an injury, I think I would have actually. I don't even think I know I would have put him a lot higher, but that injury really screwed him out.
Well, yeah, I'd say I think him getting that injury kind of put another quarterback that neither of us have said yet higher than what he was.
I mean, I think all three of us haven't said that one quarterback.
None of us have.
That's what I'm saying. So,
But you want to know the funny thing?
what's that?
My rough draft list, Jimmy was 18. But I had to make some moves because I got yelled at for Davis Mills.
Well, I mean, honestly, because that I cannot believe you put Davis Mills. Let's see, at 26. Like out of all, you're telling me that there was 6 other quarterbacks worse than Davis Mills. Actually, don't even answer that. To shut your mouth. We're
And
going to
you're telling me that half these quarterbacks you've listed were better than Andy Dalton?
Yeah.
No.
All right. Again, your opinion is my opinion. We both have assholes. So
I'm just saying, I don't think Dalton should be that low. Clearly, as Pat and I both put him at 18.
Okay. Again, do you all want it to call the Tim and Pat show? Let's get right into my 17. You all both had said this player thing last week at number 24, and that is Ryan Tannehill. Pretty much what you all said last week is why I put him where I put him at. I just felt he was a little bit better than what you all think.
So if he didn't get injured, would he be a little higher for you?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that was my reasoning for last week for why Tannehill was so low, just because of the injury and he didn't have the team to work with.
No, yeah, I agree. And, a lot of the teams a lot of quarterbacks, when they go down, before we even started this podcast, they always would be ranked lower because of injuries. And I know it's, I guess, wrong to think of that way, but if you have a quarterback who can stay healthy and plays a little bit longer on your team, you have to rank them higher because of that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So, who was it next? Pat, I think it was.
No, it's me. Number 17.
17.
I put him here, but I liked your guys' reasonings last episode for this quarterback, but I still put him here just because of the team around him and what he did with adversity and his coaching staff. I have Derek Carr. I think with him getting a whole new offense surrounding him and a whole new coaching staff, that it was kind of hard on him, and he still did a very good job as a quarterback with all that. But your reasonings last week where he had Davante Adams brought in and he couldn't do anything with it. I agreed, but I couldn't just adjust my list in the middle of the episode. So I have Derek Carr at 17.
Davis Mills, and I had to adjust that one.
That wasn't in the middle of an episode.
You need to have a better list. That's what it is.
I couldn't just say, "Oh, well, Pat said Derek Carr and Tank said Derek Carr. Let me throw Derek Carr in there just for it." So I have him at 17. I can agree with going lower for him, but I also agree with myself here that Derek Carr should be 17 because I think he had very good stats for what he had. He had 20-some touchdowns?
24 touchdowns, 14 picks.
And missed the last 3 games?
Yeah.
I feel like if he doesn't miss those last 3 games, he can get close to 30 touchdowns. He could probably be over 4,000 passing yards. So that's kind of my reasoning for putting Derek Carr a little further up. I think if he just wasn't sat those last 3 games, he could have done a whole lot better.
Oh, I'm not saying he couldn't, but I'm actually excited. I'm very excited to see what he can do this year.
So,
Well,
Mike, I think
in
the
the
Saints have a
Saints.
way better offensive line than what he had in Las Vegas, and I think he'll have more time to throw the ball and not be so pressured like he was in Vegas. And I think that's
100%
what
agree.
I say. I think that's what Derek Carr's problem is. With the Raiders, he's always pressured and he never has time to think.
And Chris Olave, no knocks on Devontae, one of the top 3 in the league for sure. But Chris Olave is an up and coming Devontae-esque caliber. He's going to be top 3 for a good while, likely.
And I mean, we haven't really seen him play the last 2 years, but you can't forget Michael Thomas is still there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think they just got another really good receiver. So Jarvis Landry's still there. So I think if his receiving core is healthy, because that's how it was with the Raiders, he never really had a healthy receiving core. If the Saints, he can have a healthy receiving core, I think he'll go pretty good with the Saints this year.
100% agree. Well, Pat, it's on to you now.
All right. Well, the suspense is kind of spoiled for Tim because he kind of guessed this one right on one time. But I have the young boy Kenny Pickett. Admittedly, a little questionably high. I think
Yes.
I'm focused on the last quarter of the season solely, and he was trending upward. He was playing great in the last 4 or 5 games. The
I'm not
team
saying
kind of rejuvenated and it played well under his wings. And if you take out his first start, he only threw 6 interceptions after that one game. So
I'm not saying Kenny Pickett can't be possibly the answer, and I'm not saying Kenny Pickett's it sucks. This season that we're talking about, he sucked, and I get that. That you're a rookie and you're newer to the league. College and NFL is totally 100%. I know my camera just went haywire, but college and NFL are totally different. So I get where you're coming from, 100%. And there goes the camera again, even though I just bought a brand new camera. But at the same time, I don't feel Kenny Pickett deserves to be that high. So, Pat, I love you, brother, but that was a bad spot.
Look, I'll agree with you, Pat. If we were doing this weeks 8 to the end of the season or week 9 to the end of the season, yeah, Kenny could be this high up. But you can't look at first game and be like, well, if you take that out.
No. I'm not taking out his starts. In his starts, he went 7-5. That's middle of the pack, and 17's middle of the list.
Okay, but I don't know. Like I said, when I ranked Kenny, I think his biggest problem was the offensive coordinator. And I think if they didn't have Matt Canada, Kenny Pickett could have been way higher for all of us.
And Tomlin's already saying that he sees a lot of progression going into season 2 or year 2 with Pickett being in backfield. So I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm excited to see what he does this season.
I know when we do our list for quarterbacks for this coming year, Pickett's going to be highly ranked for me.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So, all right, Pat, flip it around and give us 16.
Well, you complain about Pickett maybe being ranked too high, but just being maybe too high in general, maybe on a little ayahuasca. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my gosh,
you guys 16 here.
We might as well name this podcast the Terrible Pun Podcast.
Well, mainly only from me, and I'm sorry that you both have to experience it.
I don't know. Remember last episode? Anybody's bedtime?
Well, they are pretty cheesy jokes, but that's why I picked the cheesehead here.
Oh.
Aaron Rodgers himself.
I'll give you that one.
Thank you. That was on the fly too. Speaking of on the fly, maybe he's going to the Jets.
I don't know. I don't know about this now. So the GM said that they're still in talks, but now that Lamar asked for a trade, maybe they drop all talks for Rodgers and go for Lamar. lot younger, lot
Wouldn't that
faster.
be something?
I
That
could
would be
see it
something.
happening.
Oh, I mean, they did just sign all those wide receivers and stuff that Rodgers wanted, and then they would drop all that to go for Lamar. I don't see that happening. I mean, it would be funny and it'd be hilarious, but I don't know.
Look,
I
use
don't.
one of those receivers as your trade. Give up a
Yeah.
first round and Alan Lazard for Lamar. You got me,
Hey,
Cole.
hey, Lazard, we just signed you, but you're going now down to Baltimore.
I mean, some people do it. Some teams sign players
So
just to use them as trade
yeah,
bait.
I don't blame him. Why you put Rodgers there?
Yeah, obviously still one of the top quarterbacks and definitely a Hall of Famer based on last season. Not even awful stats, but he didn't have his typical Rodgers fire. I guess the second half of the season they looked a lot better. He did as well, but
Well, even then, the end of the season, he dropped off again.
right, that the last week even against the Lions, it
Yeah.
just
Well, his last throw, if he does go to a new team, will be a pick to the Detroit Lions.
I mean, what if he retires? If they don't do that trade, he's like, well, I'm not playing for Green Bay.
Well, again, his last throw is a interception.
So I that makes me kind of question where he's going to go with all of this.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
what do you have at 16 there?
My 16, middle of the pack. So, a little higher than the middle. So I don't want to hear any complaining from people. But number 16 is where I put Dak.
Okay.
I think Dak's a middle of the road type player. I think if you want to make playoffs, Dak is a good person, but in playoffs, he can't lead his team.
100% agree with you.
And I think Dak's biggest problem with an offensive line as great as Dallas has, he doesn't think before he throws, and that's why he had 16 interceptions, tied for the most in the league, missed 4 games, could have had way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Dak's pretty much a middle of the pack type quarterback. And I mean, if he had more weapons, he could probably be better. If they would have kept Amari Cooper and they had Cooper, Gallup, and CD this year, I think they could have done very well. But I mean, that's all Jerry Jones.
Yeah. I don't even get me started on that. But do you have anything else to say on that, Pat? Or are you good on
hey,
that?
I'm good with Dak being there. I'm a couple spots lower, obviously, but he's middle of the road right there. If you want regular season quarterback to get you a high seed for the playoffs, absolutely. He just hasn't proved he can take that next step, really.
I think
Oh, I agree.
his leadership skills is his problem. I
Yeah.
don't think half
I mean,
that team thinks of him as a leader.
I think he's a leader in the locker room, but I don't see him a leader on the field.
I don't know. I think some of that team pictures other people as leaders, and they kind of just listen to Dak.
I can see what you're saying, but we'll get right into my 16 pick. And this is I ended up changing two of my picks, and you know exactly who I'm talking about there, Tim. So at 16, I'm putting Lamar Jackson. Uh, Pretty much what you said is why I had to really rethink about. Like, you legit had me thinking, why did I have him up so high that I did?
Again, I think another middle of the pack type quarterback. I mean,
I personally
he was low
feel
for me because of the injury. That was my problem.
that's another thing, another issue that I have. I think, but like I said, what with Tannehill and Garoppolo with the injuries, you got to rank players a little bit better. He went out week 13, 14, and he didn't play for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think it was
So
like 12 or 13.
it really sucked. And personally, the whole ordeal that he's dealing with right now, it's bullcrap.
Yeah.
Honestly, he should have signed an extension, and I really legit think he is the franchise quarterback for Baltimore. They just need a little bit more weapons. I feel when they got rid of Hollywood Brown, I think that was one of the biggest weapons that Lamar had.
Now, see, that one, I agree that was probably his biggest weapon, but I agree with the trade because it gave him a center that he could trust a lot more.
Yeah,
But I think the biggest problem is they wouldn't go for any of those open receivers in free agency. Like it wasn't until week 10, 11 that they finally went for Deshaun Jackson.
yeah,
And you knew how bad your team was doing receiver wise, and it took you that long to get Jackson and Andy Isabella.
And Jackson did. I feel good for them stepping up. And he's what in his 40s.
I think he's like 36, 37.
I mean, okay, but still, he's.
I mean, he's still fast.
He is.
Think about the Ravens organization, though, receiver wise. They've never gone out and grabbed someone. Anquan Bolden they brought in, he was already past his prime. Played great there, but he was older.
I think the only really good person they went out and they have got that was still very good and helped them was Steve Smith.
Steve Smith really did blow up there, and
I think he really helped that team out.
Right.
Torrey Smith was very good.
Torrey Smith was good, but I
think that's the Ravens franchise. They just never have a big name receiver. It's always the tight end. Because I mean, Todd Heap, Dennis Pitta, Mark Andrews.
I say, look at Andrews. I mean, he's doing something now.
And I mean, the running backs too. Got Jamal Lewis, Ray Rice, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. They've always had a top tier running back.
Well, I mean, if you count 6 interchangeable running backs as a top tier one. Well, when do you start in fantasy? Oh, the wrong one this week.
Okay, now, but when you had when they had Ray Rice and then Willis McGahee, those were the ones you could rely on.
Right.
But now, yes, it's like which running backs not hurt this game?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I remember, last year I had Devonta Foreman, and I'm like, all right, I'll play Foreman this game, and then they play Latavius Murray, so I drop him, and then you pick him up, Pat, and then he does good for you, and then you bench him one week, and he does bad, so you get rid of him, so then I pick him back up, and I think the top 2 teams that never get a running back from is the Eagles and the Ravens.
Oh, hands down, I agree with that. But let's get right into number 15 if y'all gentlemen are done.
I'm ready.
This guy was already spoken for. Again, I feel 16 through 14 is right there in the middle of the pack. 14 through 16, 14 through 17 is right there. And I feel that this quarterback started off horrible, did great in the middle, kind of fell off, especially that last game. And we were just talking about him, and that's Aaron Rodgers. So at 15, I have Aaron Rodgers, and pretty much we've already talked about why he's where he is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say Aaron Rodgers should be a lot higher or anything like that. I mean, my list will prove to that here soon.
I wonder what that means.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is next.
I was going to say maybe me and Tim have on the same.
So if you're done, number 15 for me, I have Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
I put Jimmy G at 15, and like you said earlier, if he didn't get injured, he could have been a lot higher up. But 100%. I also feel like no, because it seems like a lot of times Jimmy drops off at the end of the year. He gets too comfortable with the team, knowing that they're going to make playoffs, so he kind of drops off to make it look like they're not a good team, and then that's when he clicks in playoffs, and he's like, you thought we were bad, and now we're actually a lot better.
That's smart thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it's smart, but that's why I have Jimmy G.
Yeah. Nothing. I'm not going to knock what you say or what you have to put him at 15 because he was at my 18. And like you said at the beginning when you started saying his name is, I've already said what I said. So I agree with what you said about him and where you put him. I'm not going to knock you.
Mm-hmm. All
I
right.
will knock Pat because Pat's an Eagles fan.
All right, Pat, what you got?
Understandable. All right,
Ed Love.
so here at 15, I have someone you both already mentioned, and that's Lamar Jackson. And
Okay.
I've been more lenient on the injury things. I kind of more judge like their starts that they had, but I understand how you take it down a notch or so if they did miss a lot of games because that's part of the quarterback position being
Mm-hmm.
available. So I understand that. So that kind of maybe bumped him down one or two spots. Even so, I'd have him pretty much around this area. 8-4 in his starts. He'll win games for sure. That team's built pretty well for him to quarterback. They definitely need weapons, like we say, at receiver.
100%.
He can only get better if they give him weapons too. So
Yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Do you think they'll draft a wide receiver this year?
No, they're gonna get a corner to replace Marcus Peters.
Yeah, I don't.
The top prospect that they're going for is Joey Porter, but that's if the Steelers will take him.
Don't see
So
that.
I can see if Steelers do take Porter, that maybe then they would go for a receiver, and they like ask Lamar, which receiver would you prefer out of all of this? And maybe he'll chime in. But I mean, when they asked him who he preferred for OC, he never chimed in. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I I think that they franchise tag Lamar, see if he'll play this year, and if he's down to play, spend the money on a receiver this year, and then next year worry about paying Lamar.
Now he can
Which
sit out.
I
Franchise
know,
tag.
yeah, I know.
That's what I'm just saying. I was letting our listeners know.
I mean, even if they pay him, he can still sit out.
Yeah.
See, Le'Veon Bell did it.
He was a freaking idiot.
So I think if he agrees to play and he's like doesn't want to get traded anymore, you drop the money on a receiver. Like go for Odell. Drop the money on Odell. You get Odell, you see how the two pair together, then you drop the money on Lamar next year.
Right.
I get it.
I think that would be the smart thing to do, but also you don't know how Lamar's going to go.
And well, I'll move right into 14 then, guys. Here's another man that missed a couple games. Started off the season on fire, and likely if there all season with the weapons he had around him, would have been maybe a top 5. But Tua, good old Tua.
Yeah, he was looking like top 5.
Yeah, and I mean the stats themselves could justifiably still be top 10 with some games missed from him.
Mm-hmm.
He I don't know what happened. He played a lot better, looked much better. If it's just getting the weapons, if it's something clicked. And
Yeah.
he looked great when he played.
I think he's more comfortable with his coaching staff because I think McDaniels coming in really helped him feel comfortable.
I think what really hurt Tua was a lot of those concussions and injuries.
Yeah.
And I personally think he needs to sit this whole season out. Upcoming, I really think he needs to sit, be the quarterback that can help out. Coaching, getting the new the quarterback ready. And I feel next season, one, you'll be a lot more rested. Take the reps at practices, but you'll be rested for the following season, and you won't be as injury prone. If you know what I'm saying, like I feel this season is not going to be good for him.
I think the only way he agrees to sit out is if they bring Lamar in and they make him sit, and then next year trade him away. I don't think Tua is sitting at all.
I don't see
Like
him
I
sitting.
get what you're saying, but I don't think Tua is going to sit at all.
Oh, I don't think he's going to sit out at all. But I think that's what's best for his long run ability.
Well, and what I think might happen with Tua is kind of maybe an Andrew Luck type situation where he decides to retire early for the better of his body because as much as football is great, it isn't everything. And if it comes to a point where he is even thinking about that, I think he would not play, but I don't think he's there yet. If he suffers another concussion this year, maybe early on, maybe then he thinks about that, but I don't think so yet.
But how many more concussions do you need to legit have a worrisome in your head that
I mean, Gronk said he had like 16.
Not everyone's Gronk.
have you looked at the body build between Tua and Gronk?
I think the biggest problem that Tua might be having is he sees a good team that can go somewhere, and he's the head of the captain for that team right now. He saw what happened when he was not playing. Flacco wasn't there. It was Bridgewater and Thompson couldn't do anything for that team.
I'm not saying they don't have a team. I'm saying that my issue is the concussions. It would be that goes for anybody. Honestly, it could be a daggone left guard. I'm just saying, like, how many concussions do you have to take to really put in perspective of is this what I need?
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying I think since he realizes that he has a good team behind him right now, especially since they just got Jalen Ramsey, so their defense is built even more.
Come on, Jalen. Come on, Jalen.
I think that he sees that as a good team, and he is the captain of it right now. So he doesn't want to let his team down.
I get it.
Which I mean,
the captain now.
Andrew Luck kind of was the same way, and then the team started to fall off, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I really should stop playing," because he got that neck injury, and he played another 1 or 2 seasons, and they started going downhill, and he's like, "My team's starting to do pretty bad. I don't want to risk it."
Honestly, look.
I also think he saw what happened to Peyton Manning when he had the neck injury, and he was like, yes, Manning got a 1 more Super Bowl, but he also was in a lot of pain.
Yeah. Right.
So,
and let's not forget, Andrew Luck is also some type of super genius that's engineering and still having a great career outside of football.
Yeah. So, I agree with what you're saying about with Tua and how he should take some time off to really assess that brain injury with the concussions. But I also don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't see it happening either, but I'm just saying that's what I think would be best.
And I'm saying I think that's why there was all that controversy about getting actual medical teams in there. So, all right, we talked on Tua a good amount. So,
yeah, we did.
I'm going to jump into my number 14. And this is what I was saying earlier. This is where I have Aaron Rodgers.
That's funny. It was 16, 15, and then 14 for Rodgers.
I think that Aaron Rodgers, I knew he was going to have a down season without Adams. And I've never
100%.
really cared for Lazard. And you and I said it all during the season. When Lazard is not playing, the team actually looks good. Because Aaron Rodgers' problem is when he finds a receiver he's comfortable with, he goes for them all the time. That's why there would be games where Davante Adams would have 13, 14 targets, 10, 11 catches. And that's the same with Lazard. But the problem between Adams and Lazard is Adams is like 6'5", 200 20 some pounds. Lazard is like pushing 6 foot, 195, and injury prone. So
Yeah.
he's constantly going to Lazard, and Lazard was getting hurt throughout the season. And Lazard doesn't have the strength to hold on like Adams could. So he'd catch the ball, get hit, and drop it. So I think,
100%.
like I said, with Dak and the leadership, Aaron Rodgers has leadership. I will say that. But I
Yes.
think he doesn't want to spread the ball out, and that's his problem. Which if he
That
goes
was
to
his
the Jets,
biggest problem.
if he goes to the Jets, he's just going to throw to Alan Lazard again, and he has a bunch of targets to go to with the Jets.
Yeah,
So
he
I'm hoping
does.
if he would go to the Jets, I would love to see Aaron Rodgers throw to weapons.
We'll
Because
see.
he didn't trust his receiving core in Green Bay last year because of all the drops that the rookies were having. So I think if he has Garrett Wilson, Mecole Hardman, Alan Lazard, Elijah Moore, or Elijah just got traded, right? Or was it Corey Davis? One of them
Oh,
did.
Mike
Right,
D.
Elijah's gone.
Yeah, so then Corey Davis, he has those four, and then he's got, I think CJ Uzama still as the tight end. I think he has a lot more weapons he can go to in the Jets, and I would like to see the Jets trade happen only because I want to see him finally throw to more people. Because
My
if he
biggest
stays in Green
issue,
Bay, he's got nobody to throw to now.
I think if he goes to the New York Jets, my biggest issue is he's following Brett Favre's path.
I mean, it happens sometimes.
Oh yeah, I know that, but
I have to say, you can't really say, "Oh, he's Brett Favre 2.0."
he's going to be the Brett Favre 2.0.
I say this the team is what's offering. Like no other team really was putting their neck out for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, it's because the Jets need a QB.
Exactly. But my other problem right here with Rodgers is if the Jets do get Odell, I think he's just going to go to Odell the whole time. So
I think anywhere Odell goes, Odell's going to get the vast majority of the catches.
yes, but no.
Why no?
I think if he goes to a team that also has a decent receiver, no, because they don't want Odell to get re-injured. Like, say he goes back to the Rams. They're going to split between Kupp and Odell. Say he goes, what's another? Cardinals keep DeAndre Hopkins. He goes to the Cardinals. They're going to split catches. Goes to the Patriots. I think him and Juju will split catches. But if he goes to somewhere like the Giants, the Ravens, they're going to be the number one target all the time. So
I get what you're saying, but I feel that he would. And Pat, you can jump in. You know, you don't have to be silent over there.
I'm processing this Aaron Rodgers talk here, you know. It's pretty exciting. No, it'll be exciting if he goes there. And
I'm not saying it won't be.
about the Odell, I think teams would realize, like, don't use him as the workhorse he was when he was a little bit younger. He's coming off an injury and he's older. In his prime, probably a year or two after it, maybe. And they would maybe not limit snaps, but definitely keep that in mind.
well, I mean, even as a young workhorse, he got injured all the time in New York being a workhorse. So
Right.
I'm not saying they'll limit his snaps. I think they'll limit his targets a little. But I mean, if the guy's wide open 20 yards down the field, it's going to be hard not to throw to him.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, that's anybody though.
But I feel like if he goes somewhere, if he goes to Dallas, I think him and CeeDee Lamb are splitting. But like I'm saying, if he goes somewhere like Baltimore, he's going to be the number one target. There's no getting around it. They're going to double cover him. They're going to have a linebacker and a safety on Mark Andrews because they know there's no other receivers they have to worry about.
Yeah.
So, and then like the whole flip with DeAndre Hopkins might getting traded, which now apparently the Cardinals are saying that they don't think they're going to get rid of Hopkins. If he would go to Buffalo, you got Diggs and Hopkins splitting the catches.
It's a nice tandem.
So,
That would be a nasty tandem.
Yeah.
all right, Tank. Number 14.
So last week, this player was said, and this player was also said in this episode. And I guess you all can probably already guess where I'm
Dak.
going with this. Yeah, it is Dak Prescott. And I put him in 14 because you legit took the words right out of my mouth. And there goes my damn camera again.
I think it's
But-
when you move. When you start moving, your camera's like.
I kind of like that. Though.
Shut your mouth over there, Pat.
He's gonna win biggest attitude.
Has to.
Every time that you and I say something, he just yells at us.
Shoot, what was that? Oh, so pretty much you said, Tim, that he's the middle quarterback. He can get you to the playoffs. He can get you your wins that you want. But when it comes down to the playoffs, what has he done? Yeah, he beat Tampa Bay and he beat Brady.
He's
What
won a
did he
couple.
do? I'm not saying he hasn't, but what I'm saying is that his last one, yes, he beat Tom Brady. And, wow, okay. But the Buccaneers weren't all that great. And Brady wasn't what Brady is. So therefore I feel Dak goes at 14 in the middle of the pack. Another thing that you brought up was he was out for 4 games and he had how many interceptions with 4 games less than anybody, and you were tied for the lead of interceptions. So he doesn't think, and I don't. I've always said this: he is not the answer for Dallas Cowboys. I don't know who really is the answer for Dallas Cowboys right now. We'll see how this season upcoming goes, and we go from there. But I just know Dak Prescott is not the answer, and that's my own quarterback.
Yeah,
That's my quarterback.
Shut your mouth.
they had us in the first half.
But yeah, that was 14 for me.
All right, Tank, run out your last one of the episode.
My last and final pick for number 13, we had talked about Jimmy Garoppolo at my pick number 18, right? And hey, wake up over there, Pat. I know I'm not that boring.
I'm seeing where Jimmy is on my list coming up here.
I was about to say, I don't think you've said Jimmy yet.
You haven't. But so we talked about Jimmy, and then we were talking about, there was a quarterback that was better than Jimmy, and that's Brock Purdy. And that I put Brock Purdy at 13 over top of my own quarterback again. Brock Purdy took the storm. I mean, he was 9-0, 10-0. In starts, he took the whole NFL by storm. If you don't believe me, go back to listen to some of the episodes closer to the second half of the season about him. I don't knock him. I don't.
Look, I think if he didn't get hurt, he would have had a whole lot better chance in the playoffs against the Eagles.
Oh, 100%. I think if he did not get hurt, and I'm not trying to be mean to you, but actually I am being mean to you because I really just don't care. But if the Eagles did not injure Brock would have beaten the Eagles 100%. I'd put money on.
I don't know.
Right now.
I wouldn't say he would have beaten them.
Oh hell yeah!
No,
Yes,
the Niners defense couldn't stop the Eagles.
It doesn't matter if the defense couldn't stop the Eagles. Brock would have put that team on his back, and they would have had the very last ball where they had to go score a touchdown or a field goal, and they would have won hands down.
I don't know. I think if you call that challenge on the Devonta Smith catch at the very beginning, the whole thing would have been different.
Right. Big challenge, big opportunity wasted, not challenging. However, Brock couldn't have put the whole team on his back because he couldn't even put Hassan Reddick on his elbow.
Really? Shut your mouth there, Pat. Going.
All right. Round off my list for number 13. It's only fitting that I started the episode agreeing with Pat, that I end the episode agreeing with Tank. I got Mr. Irrelevant, Big Brock Purdy.
Really?
I have Brock Purdy at number 13.
Wow.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take
basically
it.
what we were just saying. I think Brock coming in, putting the entire team on his back, knowing that they just lost their starting 2 quarterbacks, and it's all up to him now. He didn't even care that people were going around talking about him being Mr. Irrelevant. He didn't let that worry him whatsoever. He just knew that the team depended on him, and he needed to get the job done. And he got that job done.
I'm not saying that he goes from a bench warmer, because I'm not saying he was a bench warmer. At the time he was. I'm not saying he goes from not starting to starting over top of, Trey Lance or anybody. But what I think Brock Purdy has, there was a quarterback, and I just name just popped out of my head. All he did was he was a backup. He never legit was a starting quarterback. I mean, he started games, but he wasn't the starting quarterback for a franchise team. He always
Trubisky?
came. No, it wasn't Mitchell. But I think Brock Purdy is that guy. Like, he is the guy that you can rely on. I think he's the guy that can go out and win games if need be. And I think he's the guy that, if you really want to invest into him, he could be the starting quarterback.
See, I don't know if I can really say that Brock's that guy when you bring him in. He can win games if you need him to. We got half a season of Brock Purdy. It was his rookie year. So
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know if I can say he's that guy. If you need him to win, he can come in and win for you. I think Brock did amazing. He did very good. But I think the other thing is,
picking your damn ear.
I think the other thing is, what teams did he really play against?
I mean, shoot.
I think the only big team that I would say he played against was the Buccaneers. But even then,
They
it
played
was
Seattle, I think, when he.
I think one
49ers.
time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what I have in this notebook, 49ers played the Chiefs, which they lost.
Well, he didn't play that.
Okay, hold on. There's the 49ers played the Rams. They won. 49ers must have been off this week.
Here, I will.
49ers beat the Chargers.
While we're looking for Brock Purdy's little schedule here, did you hear they reached out to Ben Roethlisberger
Really?
after Jimmy G went down?
I thought they reached out to Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, they gave Big Ben a call before Brock Purdy started because they thought they were screwed.
Yeah.
And Ben said he really had to contemplate it.
That I did not know.
The 49ers, this one was
okay,
49ers
here. So he played the Dolphins, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Commanders, the Raiders, and the Cardinals.
So out of all those teams, Cardinals would probably be the biggest.
No, because it was
3 bad.
It was week 18 against the Cardinals. Half their Cardinals team was injured.
Well, but still, I mean, I'm just saying that's the only team that he would have a definitive. Oh well, I'm a good quarterback.
It's Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah.
But I think his biggest was the Raiders because that was that 37-34 overtime win. But that was him versus Jarrett Stidham in his very first start.
Yeah.
So the reason I said Tampa is because what was that stat? Brady never lost to a rookie quarterback making their debut or something like that.
Right.
So because I think that was his debut game. He came in during the Dolphins game. So that was his debut game. And Brady had never lost to a rookie QB in a debut game. So the pressure was on for Brock. But I think the only team that Brock really played against that he struggled, other than that Raiders, was the Cowboys in the playoffs. I think he played a very good defense, and he struggled because he did not look the best in that game.
Right.
So
I hear you.
that's the only reason I have him somewhat lower than a lot, is because he came in, played 6-7 games, and it was against teams that
But
you didn't
again,
really
I
have to worry
that
about.
13 through 17 is the middle of the pack, I feel,
But yeah,
or 14 through 17. So I
and he's
mean, you have
just
him right
above the
there.
middle.
Yeah, so I'm okay with it.
And like we said a couple episodes ago, I'm very excited to see how they work out with Purdy and Trey Lance. I want to know who gets the start. I want to know how they feel. Do you keep Brock Purdy's reign of being undefeated going? Because you don't really count the playoffs with your undefeated streak.
Yeah.
Most things in playoffs don't count towards stats. So technically, Brock is still undefeated. Do you continue that in the regular season? Or do you wait to see if Trey Lance does bad and then you bring Brock in? So,
Best of both worlds.
all right, Pat, you want to end it off?
I guess I'll end
No,
it
I don't
off
want to hear.
here.
I don't want to hear him.
Well, don't worry, I'm not ending off my list with someone quite as bad as Dak this time.
Got to get that last jab in, don't you?
I always do. I'm an Eagles fan. What do you expect?
True.
All right, so for 13, it was almost a flawless transition talking about Brock Purdy and the stats of who he's beat. And this man had never lost to a rookie starter.
You seriously
Tom
have
Brady.
Wow. Brady that
you
low.
seriously have Brady at 13?
Yes, I do. I do
Wow. Okay.
indeed.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Say that's a
Oh,
bad choice.
I'm going to say it's a bad choice.
I think Brady had a terrible season. We were saying that all season long. I thought Brady did a terrible job.
Okay, but if he was, hold on, Pat, before you speak, Tim, if I agree with you that we both said that through the whole season, but then why have you not put him on your list?
Because there's other quarterbacks that have had not as good of a season.
Okay, so why are you knocking me for saying that? Me telling Pat why that I don't think
I'm not
Brady.
knocking you. I never said I was knocking you.
No,
I'm just saying
just let Pat
I
talk
can
now,
agree
I guess.
with what Pat's saying. I have Brady higher than that, but
I
I
have
get
Brady.
his reasoning. Just like with some of the people you have said. I have him a little higher, but I get your reasoning.
Yeah, whatever. You just like Pat more than me.
No,
It's that bald head.
like your Jimmy G pick, I had him a little higher. Your Aaron Rodgers pick, I said I agree, but I have him a little higher. That's just how it is on this one. Look, just because you put Andy Dalton at 32 and we all question your sanity.
My wife even questions my sanity.
Well, Brady, it is really hard to put someone who threw for 4,700 yards just about out of the top 12 at least. But I don't know. Not solely on him. The team around him was very lackluster too. The line was terrible this year. The run game was non-existent. It was pretty much solely Brady. So, in that regard, I suppose for a 45-year-old, he did pretty well. But compared to the 12 I have above him, I just think he had a less stellar year.
Well, see, and that was one of those things I was saying a lot during the regular season. Brady's stats only look so good because he's throwing 60, 70 times a game. He has
We're
to
talking
throw.
about that.
See, he has to throw. That's why his stats look good because he has to do it.
What was Brady's stats again?
25 TDs, 9 interceptions, great TD to interception, 46.94, 66.8 completion percentage.
He threw for 733 times. 733 times, only completing 490 passes with a passing or QBR of 90.7.
Yeah, so
I'm not.
I'd say I agree.
I want you to understand this, and I'm not I agree with what you're saying, 100%. Okay, but with what I think is totally completely different. I feel and think that it's I don't like Brady. I've never liked Brady since he came into the league, and it's not because he has 7 rings. It's just not that he had an ex-wife who was a supermodel. It's not that. It was I can't stand Brady, and I have to respect him enough to where even though he sucked a little bit or not even a little bit, he sucked through the whole season, but his stats are good enough to keep him higher in my list.
Yeah, I mean,
Understandable.
I would say I agree on Pat's end and I agree on your end. I think his stats look very good, so he deserves to be further up. But I agree on Pat's end because his stats were that good because all he did was throw. He wouldn't try running. And I mean, yes, the run was non-existent, but he just didn't try it either.
Where's they released what's his name? Leonard
Fournette,
Fournette, didn't
yeah.
they? How many did I mean I really don't want to talk about it because if we're going to rank the Q or the running backs, but how many times did they even try to run with Fournette? Do y'all possibly know?
I think Fournette maybe got 10 to 14 carries a game. But I mean, they also had Rashard White try and get some carries.
Yeah.
True.
I'm gonna say 160 carries ish through the season, maybe.
Yeah.
That sounds about right, Tim.
Say I'm not ranking the running backs because that's way too many running backs.
Oh yeah. So okay, here I just pulled it up. He had 189 attempts, or rushing attempts, for 668 yards, 3 touchdowns.
That's pretty much 11
That's
attempts a game.
yeah, that's sad. Like
And I think Rashard White maybe got 100.
it.
So you got to think
I,
if say Rashard got like 104,
I,
you do that, they probably rush the ball at least 16 times a game. Brady probably threw 3.5 more times than what they did running. So
it's pretty good success ratio, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I get they had a bad offensive line, but like sometimes you still got to trust the run.
how many times did you say he ran? Rashard
I
White.
I did a rough
Yeah,
estimate and said 104.
he rushed for 129 times.
Okay, so then here, what was it? Fournette 189.
189 and 129.
So they had 17.6 carries a game. So they average about 18 rushing plays a game. Because I'll throw Brady's 1 or 2 scrambles and his whole season. So they probably ran the ball 18 times a game. That was it.
Do you know how many rushing touchdowns they had for the whole team?
Well, Fournette didn't get a rushing touchdown until like week 5.
Yeah, it was a total of 4. 3 for Fournette, and White had 1.
But the part there that I'll go away from is Fournette and White did have a good amount of catching touchdowns.
Yes.
So
Mm.
I we said it, I don't know how many times in the episodes. I was tired of seeing 50, 60, 70 times a game where you're throwing the ball. I like a solid mix up between run and throwing. It's
yeah. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our list 18 through 13. We got 2 more episodes. And next up, we got 12 through 7 and then 6 to 1.
so I still can't believe he has Brady, but it is what it is. This is Tank. I'm gonna go ahead and
Next
start
episode.
I know, right? I'm gonna go ahead and just sign us off on my side. This is Tank. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Um, we're out there and follow us, comment on us, let us know what you think so far about our rankings. If Pat has Tom Brady where you think Tom Brady belongs, or do you think he's just cracked out on his mind like I do? This is
I was
Peace out.
expecting Dak to end last week and Daniel to end this week.
No.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard him say, we are practically anywhere you are able to find somebody on social media. So go ahead and click the links down below to get to our social media. And I look forward to talking to you guys next week, and I will see you later.
And I will see you next week for the first part of our last dozen, cousin. Yeah.
Oh, is that a glimpse? Is that a glimpse?
Oh,
Kirk Cousins? All right. Bye, everybody.